Hi everyone, welcome to Tuesday's morning briefing from the Celtic Way with me, Hamish. Kevin is here as well. Hello, Kevin.
How you doing, Hamish? Having a good week?
I'm all good. Yes, it's been not too bad. We're looking forward to the rest of the season and a few games coming up where we might get to see a few different players. Still trying to work out exactly how I feel about the derby on Sunday, so we can maybe get into that as well and get your thoughts. Good morning, everyone. The likes of David and Natalie and McLaughlin and Mary. Lovely to have you all with us on this Tuesday morning. Just a wee word from our sponsor before we get started. This Celtic Way video is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Glasgow, Edinburgh and the surrounding areas, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search today. The club have confirmed a pre-season match, Kevin, against Newcastle United at Celtic Park, Saturday, July the 19th. So what's that, a fortnight before the start of the league season. It's not just any match though, Kevin. The Idah Trophy will be up for grabs. Do you like this? We've won the Daffabet Trophy. We beat Sunderland for that. Won the Wembley Cup. Any other daft trophies we've won over the years?
Hold me back. I'm kind of conflicted in my attitude towards pre-season friendlies and testimonials and such like. I just hope that Celtic maybe take the opportunity to keep the prices right down, given that our fans have been royally exploited in recent weeks, and also, with the prices of the cup final tickets by various other clubs and the football authorities. It would be nice, given that it's just a pre-season friendly. Newcastle are a good team. Hopefully it's good weather, but Celtic should be pegging the entrance fee to the bare minimum.
What are you talking about? What kind of fee? Because I've got the ticket prices in front of me.
I would say a tenner.
Okay, you're going to be disappointed, Kevin.
Yeah, I know.
Adult tickets are £25, concessions 17, under 13s £12.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're
just about sums it up.
I know.
We'll get to see Eddie Howe though, so maybe it's worth it or for him as well to see Celtic Park. I mean, Newcastle are going to bring a big support, aren't they? We've never played them competitively, you were saying, but we've had a few memorable friendly matches, testimonial matches against them over the years.
Yeah, there was the Alan Shearer one some years back, which was an interesting one because I still remember that. Was it an act of retaliation by Shearer on Neil Lennon while he was on the ground when Newcastle were playing Leicester a couple of decades ago? And also I was at Celtic Park, I think it was 1995, when we played them on a gorgeous day, and we had just opened the new stadium, Fergus McCann's grand project, or the first step of it. I think it was a 1-1 draw. That was probably the last time Newcastle had a really, really good team, top team, like Les Ferdinand. I think David Ginola might have been playing for them that day as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm looking forward to someone saying it was on the website, Newcastle have got an allocation of 7,500. It certainly wouldn't surprise me that we give them a big allocation, and it'll be a good atmosphere. I'd have loved to have gone down to Newcastle. I know Celtic don't tend to play away friendly matches in England anymore. I think maybe Sunderland would have been the last one, and that was several years ago. And I know there's a bit of trouble around that game, and there's been some trouble in other matches. But I love playing English teams in pre-season matches. Could be a Champions League game as well next season. Newcastle United, if they finish in the top four and we qualify. So that's good. July the 19th, we're playing Cork City as well. Parky Kiev in Ireland, I think earlier on in July. Don't think any other matches have been confirmed yet, but I quite like that pre-season so far. I'm sure we'll get a wee trip abroad and get some matches there. Don't think there's going to be a big trip this year, is there, to Japan or any, because it was the States last year, Japan the year before, Australia the year before that. I don't think we're going to get anything like that, but I guess we've got time.
No, it's probably a bit late in the day now to be organising that. And yeah, I mean, the benefits I think are mixed, depending on how big the well, it used to be with the kind of length of the midwinter break, could dictate these things. But I've, again, not sure about the benefits. I still, you know, I still hear all sorts of stories about the catastrophic trip to, I think, was it Dubai during the lockdown season? Most of which are unprintable. Unspeakable.
Yeah. Fun. Well, I was going to say funny days, not particularly funny. I'm just reading on the Newcastle website. They'll have, they say they'll have 7,200 away fans. So that will be a pretty fun one. Okay. Derby on Sunday. Kevin, thoughts on it?
I watched it back again, and actually, I think Celtic's performance improved with the rewatching. I think that, yeah, you can have a view about our ability to weather the expected early storm that Rangers kind of unleash in these games. Big, long, high balls, winning second balls, throwing themselves to the ground whenever they're in the vicinity of a Celtic player. But actually, I'm not trying to denigrate Rangers, because, you know, their goal was a well-worked goal, but almost all the decent on-the-ground football on the day, and including in the first half, was played by Celtic. I thought Idah's goal was splendid. He took it really well. I know it took a deflection, but he struck it sweetly, and it was a good chance it was going in anyway. And you have to kind of rewatch it again just to see the little flick inside that allowed him to turn very quickly and take it. It was a fine bit of skill. There was an absolute clear stonewall penalty when Taylor was pulled back, I think, by, was it Diomande, late in the first half. How VAR didn't think that was worthy of scrutiny. I mean, it was just, he just pulled him back just inside the box because he'd been caught out with the run. Absolute 100% penalty. No bother. I thought McGregor was back to his imperious best in these games, especially in the second half. Thought Hatate played really well. I thought Engels played well. I thought Big Tony Ralston was great, deputising for Anthony Johnson, and yet again shown that he's like built for these games. I can't remember any time that that Big Tony has played for Celtic against Rangers, either a full game or, you know, or coming on, you know, to see out a victory or a draw where he's let us down. And we have got a good second choice keeper who can step in when Peter Schmeichel calls it a day. That was as a assured.
Casper.
Yeah. That was as assured a performance by a rookie goalkeeper at Ibrox that I've seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm quite positive about it. Yeah, I know people were making much of that's 3 games. We've gone against them without winning. Untrue. We won the League Cup final. And the trophy in the trophy room shows shows that penalties are a big part of the game. And I didn't hear anybody referring to it as a draw when Rangers beat us in penalties in the 2016 Scottish Cup semi-final. That was a Rangers victory, but we beat them in penalties, and all of a sudden it's a draw, and we were unable to beat them. But
yeah,
we've been dealing with that for years. So yeah, I'm actually quite positive about Sunday's result.
Yeah, I mean 5 derbies this season, and yes, Celtic won 2 of them, Rangers won 2 of them, and there was a draw. I mean I actually feel pretty similar coming away from the game. That I felt Celtic were the team that controlled the game, and it just felt a lot more. To me, it felt a lot more like maybe the derbies prior to the last 2 or 3, and that like Rangers. I think the fear was that Rangers had worked us out, and that's what a lot of us felt after that game at Celtic Park. That their system had really kind of exploited the weaknesses in ours, and we were unable to play through their press. I thought we played through their press quite easily throughout the game on Sunday. It was just when we got into the final third, there was just that little bit of sharpness missing for me. I don't think Dyson was particularly great, but we know he's been literally all around the world over the last week. I noticed some comments from him saying that he's not going to be going back to Japan during the week. So I don't know if I think it's his a son that he's waiting on. I don't know if his wife's given birth yet to their third kid, but it seems like he's going to be staying in Scotland. But he's had a pretty busy, pretty hectic period, so you can forgive him that performance. Adam Idah, take your point, scored the goal well. I think first half he had a bit of a mare with a good few chances missed. But I thought the midfield was pretty good. I thought the defence in the main was pretty good. Greg Taylor was a little bit wasteful at times, but did some good things really well. I think he's involved in the equaliser we get, which was actually the first time that Dyson Maida really ran in behind. Carter Vickers had a solid game, I thought. Liam Scales, I thought at times looked a little bit flustered, which is maybe a little bit of an issue for me, but also, stood up at times as well, but also spent a bit of the time on the deck, like for the Rangers goal. But yeah, I feel quite comfortable with it. I would obviously have loved to have won the game. I was gutted when Dyson didn't tuck that away in the last minute. But I thought there was plenty of positives in the way we played. It certainly felt like a real improvement for me.
I'd like to talk about Adam Idah. I mean, the boy scored 18 goals this season. And I think he's had fewer than a handful of starts, fewer than a handful of 90 minutes, full 90 minutes. Peter Grant on the BBC the other night was saying that he's only had 2 full 90 minutes. He's never had a run of games, and there's every chance if he's given the opportunity that he's going to breach the 20-goal mark. Some of his goals have been really, really good. And, the guys that I was watching the game with were saying, he looks lazy. He doesn't put himself about. That's just, he's a big lad. I think he thinks about the game. I think he's an intelligent player. And he's not one of those who's going to expend energy unnecessarily by scooting about, tracking back over the halfway line. And there was also a debate on the BBC between Naismith and Peter Grant, along the lines of he's not really a natural finisher, but he scores decent goals, but he doesn't maybe score goals he should. I think his record completely belies that. And that's 3 big goals he has scored against Rangers. And he's been with us for less than 2 seasons. And he's 24. I'll take that all day long. I think anybody who's questioning the amount of money that we paid for him is off their heads. There's better to come from him. He gets a full pre-season in him. Gets much more attuned to the way that Brendan Rodgers wants to play. And amongst the way that the players around him want to play, which you only get with game time. And you'd be hard pushed in Celtic's recent history to find someone who has scored as many goals as that in terms of their goals to minutes ratio, who's had so few starts and completed so few 90 minutes. So well done, the big man.
I'm looking at his numbers while you're talking. So I think he's made 49 appearances in all competitions. I don't know how many of those are starts. He certainly played 2,100 and just over 2,100 minutes this season, and he scored 18 goals. So I reckon that's a goal every 120 minutes or so, which isn't bad at all. 11 in the league, 3 in the Champions League, 2 in the League Cup, 2 in the Scottish Cup. He certainly scored big goals when you look at the young boy's goal. Sorry, was that an own goal? Was that given to him? Yeah, I think that was given as an own goal, but he's involved in that, so that's not even included in his tally. 2 goals at Villa Park. He scored another goal in the Champions League, I think, against Bratislava. Scores at Ibrox. Scores a couple last week when we're going for the league title. It's just I think at times his overall game I just want to see come on, but my hope would be that it would under Brendan Rodgers. I don't think when you look at him scoring 18 goals in his debut season, it's hardly the disaster that I think some are making out. I think you do see a lot of ridiculous stuff about Idah, like people calling him the biggest waste of money in Celtic's history and stuff like that. As I say, he's going to hit 20 goals in his first season, some big goals in there as well. I think there's real parts of his game he can improve on. His link-up play isn't good enough for me at times. I'd like to see him score more consistently. I think a lot of his goals come in batches, so he'll go through a run of scoring, being in real form and scoring double here, double there, double the next week, and then he'll maybe go 5, 6, 7 games without scoring at all. I think he's been in a few droughts like that this season, but I also concede it's maybe difficult for him when he is just coming on as a sub a lot of the time. So hopefully we get a good end to the season for him. I'd also like to see Johnny Kenny start one of these next 2 games. Maybe not Hibs, but maybe at Pittodrie next midweek. Start Johnny Kenny. Let's see what we're working with.
Yeah. That's been a criticism over the last 10, 15 years. In fact, probably even stretching back to the Martin O'Neill era when we've wrapped up titles with several games to spare. Why we don't take more opportunities to blood either some of our younger players or to give some time to the kind of fringe players. Apart from anything else, it's a good test of attitude of these players when they come in and there appears to be nothing to play for. But most of us, when we turn up, we would just love the opportunity to have worn the hoops. And when you pull that jersey over your head, there's everything they play for. There's 137 years of history to play for. There's no such thing as a meaningless game with Celtic when you pull that jersey over your head. And those, these kind of so-called meaningless games are anything but. And that's why we've got a decent squad. We should know. I think it's a means for Brendan Rodgers and the coaching team to identify those players who are oven ready to step in at any given moment, who will have looked after themselves during the week, even if they're not getting game time, whose attitude has been good in training and can bring it onto the pitch when asked.
Yeah, and I mean that's what we want to see for the rest of the season. And Brendan Rodgers kind of hinted at that after the derby. I think basically we have, as much as he's going to treat the next 3 league games with real respect and we're going to want to win them all, I think he was pretty clear that the priority now is that cup final and making sure we have the strongest, fullest squad 11 ready for Aberdeen on the 24th. And I think that means that we are going to see a bit of rotation over the next few games. And I'm quite happy to see that, get us a look at Johnny Kenny and Jude Bonner and Yang and a number of other players. Carter Vickers is going to drop out for the next couple of games. I think Alistair Johnson's still going to miss the game. You wonder if someone like Dyson will be rested maybe for one of the final few games ahead of the cup final. So that's all good. Someone was asking how many goals Idah scored last season. I believe it was 9, 8 in the league. And I think he scored one in the Scottish Cup as well at the end of the season. So what's that? A total of 27 goals for Celtic. Bobby saying, if the board are serious, then the Idah and Engels price tag should only be the start. This is how we build a squad for knockout round play in Europe. I'll keep being optimistic. Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities between Idah and Engels. They seem to get a hell of a lot of flack. I guess it's to do with the price tag. I don't think either of them are perfect. I think they've both had decent enough first seasons. I expect both of them to kick on next season. I think if they don't, then we might have some issues. But I think there's potential in both of them. And I think Celtic need to keep spending this kind of money. You know, we've got the money there. I think in times to come, we'll view certainly Arnie Engels, the money we paid for him, as a good purchase and a good value for us. So hoping that's the case. There's a bit of transfer chat yesterday, Kevin, about goalkeepers, and Ross Doohan, who you may remember used to be with us, came through our academy, left for Tranmere, I think in 2022. Then I think he went to Forest Green down south, ended up back at Aberdeen where he's been for the past couple of seasons. But he's out of contract at the end of this season, and the talk is that we want to bring him in. Question might be why? Why are we bringing in another goalkeeper? I think Scott Bain potentially going to be heading at the end of this season. He's out of contract at the end of next season, but it seems like he will want to leave in search of first team football. So Bain out, Doohan in, and Doohan kind of ticks that homegrown UEFA quota box as well, just like Bain. So I guess if it is Doohan who comes in, fair chance we never actually see him play a competitive game, but it still would be good to have someone in like that.
Yeah, it's again, I'm kind of conflicted there. That this is where I suppose man management comes in, because if Scott Bain, if Bain's going to go, and I think he should go, because I think any professional footballer, no matter how big the club they're currently at is, should always be wanting to, especially at this stage in their career, to play for someone where they can actually show why they're professional footballers. I know that might seem easy for me to say, because it's a short life, and if you're on good wages and you've got a mortgage and you've got a family, but nevertheless, why did you come in to the game? But with goalkeepers, it's different, because we all know, a top class squad needs 3 that they can rely on. How do you keep the third choice keeper happy? And the only way you can do that, I suppose, is by saying there will be an opportunity here and there, and we want you to be ready to be able to take that. You're coming to a club like Celtic, and also it's good for their CV. It's a difficult one, but we do need a third goalkeeper. As a club with Champions League ambitions. It's as simple as that.
I guess the wage Celtic can pay for a goalkeeper who isn't going to play too much probably softens the blow a little bit as well. And I'm guessing if someone like Doohan was to move back to Celtic, he would be on a higher wage than he is at Aberdeen at the moment as their kind of second choice. So that's interesting. I was actually looking, not to get too technical, everyone, but I was looking at our most recent UEFA squad, so the squad we named for the Bayern Munich tie in February, and you're meant to name 8 homegrown players in your squad, and at least 4 of those 8 have to be club trained, so they have to be guys like Callum McGregor, James Forrest, Anthony Ralston, who have come through the club, and the other 4, maximum of 4, can be what's the phrase, nationally trained or association trained, so they can be guys like Greg Taylor and Luke McCowan, who have come through at other Scottish clubs. And out of the 8 that we're meant to name, we actually only named 6. We only have 6 players basically in our main squad for Europe for the Bayern tie who were considered homegrown players. And as a result of that, we could only name a squad of 23 rather than 25. Now, Kieran Tierney coming back in the summer is obviously great news from a football point of view. It's also great news from this point of view because he counts as a homegrown player. Stephen Welsh potentially comes back to us. I don't know if Stephen Welsh, I've not really been following how he's been doing in Belgium, or if he wants to go and play. I'm guessing he wouldn't want to come back and be a backup again for us, but he could potentially help that. And someone like Ross Doohan. But yeah, Greg Taylor, we'll wait and see what's happening with him. Obviously, you wouldn't want to see him leaving. Scott Bain looks like he's going to leave. So the homegrown stuff's interesting, and clearly the club want to be as on top of that as they can be. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting summer window if we've got goalkeeper stuff going on. I guess there'll be a number of other positions. Jota's missing as well for 6 to 9 months. I saw he was posting online on Instagram, quite philosophical about the whole thing, talking about it being the halftime whistle in his career and giving himself some time to think about his career, which is typically Jota.
Touch of the Eric Cantona's there, wasn't there? Lots of metaphors and similes. Yeah, it's a shame. Initially, I thought it was, just from what Brendan was saying, that he might still have had a chance for the cup final, but obviously that's not going to happen. But again, that brings us back to what happens in the next 3 games, because I'd like to think, if I was Brendan Rodgers, I'd be saying to the players, by the way, my first team, my first pick for Hampden, it's not yet concluded. I want to see real attitude in these last 3 games, because there still might be 1 or 2 places up for grabs. Give me a decision to make. So, yeah, great end to the season.
Yeah,
and I want to maintain an average of 3 goals a game in the league. I think we're too shy of that average at the moment. I think before we played Rangers, we were bang on an average of 3 goals a game in the league. So I'd quite like to see if we can get that, because it doesn't often happen where Celtic average 3 goals a game at least in the league.
Yeah,
and that says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's still for me a lot to be gained in the final 3 league games, and the pressure's always on at Celtic. Remember 2 years ago under Ange Postecoglou, similar-ish position in that we won the league, and then we really fell away in the final.
I hate
3 or 4 games. And I mean, like, all joking aside, like, it is frustrating, as much as we kind of talk, and there isn't a great deal on the line looking at the final 3 league games. Like, if we, if Hibs turn us over on Saturday and beat us, and Hibs are a form team.
We owe them one, Hamish.
Yeah.
I'm still angry that we were beaten at Easter Road. That should, that goal that we now know was wrongly ruled, was wrongly disallowed. We'd have won that game because we were battering them. So no, I want 4 victories, including the cup final, obviously. I mean, I still remember. Like the early 70s, to the tail end of the first 9 in a row. We went to Tynecastle. I mean, I was just a kid. We just won the league. We went to Tynecastle and get beat 4-1, get scalped off them. And I was raging. My dad was absolutely raging as well. His point was, these people are still getting paid. These players are still getting paid a lot of money. They're wearing the hoops, and they go to Tynecastle, and we get our bottom spanked, because it was a so-called meaningless game. Rubbish. So, yeah, no quarter. Celtic, 3 victories, 11 goals at least, and then on to the cup final. And another 3 Scottish Cups in a row for only the 2nd time in our history. Honours to play for.
Yeah, I mean, Saturday's going to be good against Hibs. As I say, I think they're going to come and probably going to feel like they can come to Celtic Park and win, given that we've won the league, and they might sense that there's an opportunity there. And they're clearly a very good team. You then go to Pittodrie, and that's a dress rehearsal for the cup final, which is always interesting. And then you're into Trophy Day, and Trophy Day is always fun. Okay, the game itself. But last year we played St Mirren, and I remember that being a great game. Can't remember what it finished. Was it 3-2? But it was a great game, though, wasn't it?
Was brilliant.
Yeah.
And Hibs, God love Hibs. I mean, they've got to third spot not just by being stuffy and hard and well organised. They play good football. They play enterprising football. When we beat them in the cup 2-0, they could have been 2 or 3 goals up before we scored. And I hope they come with that attitude again, because Celtic need to face clubs who are willing to be more enterprising in attack, who are willing to test the defence for all sorts of reasons. And I think Hibs have got the sort of side and the sort of players where they can feel fairly confident that if they get into their stride, they're not going to be spanked 6-0. Because that was the issue with Aberdeen. I think they might have kind of taken in too much of their own good publicity at the start of the season. We beat them 6-0, which could easily have got into double figures, and their season went into a bit of a tailspin. But I think Hibs are made of sterner stuff than that, and I think they can come at us with a degree of security at the back. And I think it'd be I hope it's a really, really good game.
Looking forward to it, everyone. Okay, we'll leave that there for now. Kevin, thank you once again. We'll catch up with you very soon. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And yeah, more on the website and more from us on the YouTube channel back this time tomorrow. Speak to you then.